Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have an amazing video for you guys today. It comes from Yahoo Finance, finance.yahoo.com, and I will have a link to this article down in the description below, but check this crazy news out. Here are the 5 most overvalued housing markets in the US. They could see prices plunge 15 to 20% if bad recession hits. Now the big question is bad recession going to hit? Why would it hit? What needs to happen in order for those to hit? So I definitely think, after reading more and more, I think if we're seeing a recession hit, it's gonna have to include layoffs. And why would we see layoffs? I think we would see layoffs when prices become too expensive for consumers to buy those products. And then as a result, the companies make less money. And as a result, the companies lay off some of their employees. Now, when I think about who's gonna get hit and hurt the most, I kind of think that small businesses are probably gonna get hit the hardest, but then you could also see big layoffs from the bigger companies as sometimes, their stock price starts to dip. They try to stimulate their stock price by, laying off 5-10% of their staff, and that kind of makes headline news, and then other companies sort of follow suit. So unless we kind of see a lot of layoffs, I don't necessarily see the recession hitting too hard. Now I know we had a good jobs month, but keep your eye on on the unemployment rate, and keep your eye on layoffs, because I think that's going to be a really good indicator. Now, the biggest problem I have with the housing market right now is that I think across the board, I think it's safe to say we're incredibly overvalued. Why? Because the Feds for the last 2 years lowered the rates down to 0. Banks had incredibly low mortgage rates. Everybody was out there refinancing and buying houses. Well, definitely refinancing. And a lot of people took advantage of the market, and then they try to buy either a second home or a first-time home. And then you also had corporations that also benefit from record low interest rates, and plus we had a sort of hot stock market there. So they're able to raise capital. They have the means to borrow big sums of money if they have to, and then they also have money to themselves. So they jumped onto the market and definitely bought a lot of the properties out there. I'm talking BlackRock, I'm talking Zillow, Redfin. All these companies went in. I think there's Open Door, I think is one of them. So yeah, they went in, and basically you're asking your average family, maybe 2 small kids, to compete against companies like this. It's very, very hard. And to also compete against not just big companies, but people that are semi well off, right? People that took advantage of the low rates, and they took advantage of hedging against inflation, because they knew that at some point, going into the what's it called, putting their money on housing, they know it's a great hedge against inflation because they know that their money will be safe. Now, if we jump back into this article, as we have said many times before, Boise, Idaho takes the top of the list. So Boise, definitely saw one of those huge jumps, people moving in from the Seattle area, people moving in from the Bay Area. And when you compare prices, in the Bay Area to Idaho, Boise, I mean, could you imagine, you're living in the city, San Francisco, paying, $4,000 or $5,000 a month rent, and you show up or you even have a house worth $1 million or whatever, and you show up to Boise, you sell your house back in the Bay, you have massive amounts of cash, and then you show up to Boise and houses are like $250,000. It's like, okay, please give me 3 of them, right? So what ended up happening is Boise was incredibly overvalued. So now what we're seeing is definitely people are probably leaving. People are probably, jobs are asking people to come back. And now, people are kind of unloading a big inventory into Boise. Actually, let's jump real quick into the Redfin weekly housing market data, and let's jump into Boise, right? And you're gonna see, this is something that kind of stood out right here, Boise City. So here you go. So prices are stabilizing, but look, they went from 311 in 2019 all the way up to 525. Guys, that people from Boise that live in Boise are native to Boise. This is almost criminal, because they can't afford this, right? They just can't afford this. So now they're being priced out of their own communities, which I think is a problem. But if we look at the new listing, look at that. Look at how many people are like, I'm out of here, right? So when you think, wow, look at that huge jump in new listings. And now you have pending sales. Oh, it's not showing pending sales. It's okay. But look, if we go to the median sale price, it's amazing that the prices are stabilizing, okay? And if you look at the new listing price, they're trying to actually raise the prices. They're trying to keep the prices high, but the sales are somewhat stabilized. They are stabilizing, but they did start going down. So this is a problem. This is definitely a problem that I'm seeing, because the way I see it is they're already incredibly inflated, and this is a problem, and this needs to, in my opinion, needs to crash. It needs to come down. So, and you know why it's going up right now, right? Why we're seeing that? One of the reasons is because, you know, when the Feds raised the rates, the banks also raised the rates pretty high. They took it up to like 5%, almost 6%, and basically it stopped all mortgages applications. So now the banks kind of have been softening their rates to the consumers, and it's kind of on the way down, and it's kind of helping keep those prices up. Everything that I'm seeing right now, okay, is basically institutions trying to keep the prices of real estate up, right? The banks are trying to lower their percentage, you know, and we still have a supply crunch, not in Boise, right? So clearly, but if you look at the rest of the United States, we are still in a sort of supply crunch. If you go to all metro areas, if you look at new listings, we're still like, there is not a huge rise in inventory across the United States. So things are getting kind of weird right now. Remember, with inflation, it's kind of throwing everything out of whack. And I don't think the United States knows as a whole how to deal with this the way it should be dealt with. And I don't, you know, so now it's almost like we're driving blind. And I've been reading a lot of articles that people are just kind of taking it day by day. Right? The implications, I think what's one of the things that's going to happen, unfortunately, is going to be that if inventory remains low, if inflation remains high, then prices probably will remain high. The only time we're going to see a price drop, a huge market drop, is going to be when we have an excess of supply and a lot of less demand, right? So what's going to cause excess of supply? Well, we're going to have to see layoffs we're going to have to see small businesses probably go under. And you know, when people become, you know, if the prices stay high, remember, there's still a lot of people out there with equity, right? I don't think enough people bought houses in the last 2 years to really make a big dent. You know, it wasn't like the 08 crash that for years and years banks were just lending money like crazy and anybody could go buy a house. It was different in the last 2 years because we had supply issues. So I think that as a result, what we're gonna definitely see is like if you look at the new listing price, man, they're trying to stabilize those high prices, but I still think it's incredibly unhealthy. If you look at 2019 levels and you look at 2022 levels, you know, we can't have this disparity. We're being priced out of our communities. And when that happens, to me, it's a clear indication that the bubble will pop. Now, you know, you can try to fight the bubble from popping as long as possible, but at one point, the more you do, the worse you're gonna make it. So, you know, with the banks lowering the rates, it's gonna, obviously anyone who missed that, like if you got scared right here, but you still wanted to buy a house, this is a great opportunity to take out a loan. It's still at 5%, is still not that bad to jump in. I don't think that rates are the problem. To me, the problem is the price, you know? So we're just gonna have to see how this pans out. This is a very, very weird thing. We're gonna have to monitor it literally daily, and that's what I'm here to do. Speaking of that, guys, so here's the deal. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been watching my videos and supporting my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you know, I wouldn't be doing this if you guys weren't giving me the support that you have been giving me. So again, huge thank you. Now, if you do like my videos and you're not subscribed, don't forget to smash that subscribe button right here and go ahead and like and leave a comment. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.